have an interesting situation. We see a man who's desperate. We see a man who's desperate because his only son has been afflicted by this wicked spirit. He comes to the Lord frantic. In fact, when you read the gospel, you can sense the energy of this man. As it says, they were coming down. This man burst forth out of the crowd. But Jesus gives an interesting response. What is his response? He says, "You perverse, faithless generation." Perverse and faithless generation. As Orthodox Christians, we are the new Israel. We inherit that promise of Israel, but we also inherit the problems of Israel. How oftentimes in the Old Testament do we read when we hear of, let's say, King Saul, who, being assailed by his enemies, figures out what he needs to do. He says, "I have to do this. My enemies are coming. The people are complaining and groaning. I have to offer sacrifice. I have to get the show on the road." And every time I read that, I see it. I can imagine Saul getting ready to offer the sacrifice, and here comes Samuel over the hill. And Samuel says, "What are you doing?" Every time I see the same image. You see, it wasn't just Saul. It was all the children of Israel. They wanted a king. What did God say? You want a king to be like everybody else. I'm your king. Blessed Theophylact, he gives a very interesting interpretation. He gives a very interesting insight into this gospel. He says, this man who burst forth, this man was aware of what he needed to do. This man was aware of the passions of his son. Perversion is putting the wrong thing forward. That's what perversion is. It's taking something and putting it forward, the wrong thing and putting it forward. This man, as he went and he implored, he commanded the apostles to heal, but he didn't have the faith. He didn't really want the Lord to heal. He was trying to go through, shall we say, how the world goes about it, how his religious order was telling him to go about it. This is the same thing that Israel has done over and over again. We become enslaved to our crisis. I don't have rent. I'm sick. The world isn't paying attention to this issue. I need to do this and that, just like Saul. I need to do this and that. As Christians, our one job is to learn to be obedient. That's it. God has everything in order. We need to get in line with his order. I've been reflecting over the last few days on how perfect of a surgeon, how precise of a surgeon God is. And when we allow the patience to have its perfect work, we see how brilliant, how subtle, and how exact God is. In our trials, in all these things that bother us, we think, God, why aren't you doing something? We say, Lord, the church isn't doing this, and Lord, the church isn't doing that, so I have to, blah, blah, blah. But see, the problem is we don't know what God is doing. So we want to take it into our own hands like Saul. We want to say, you know, Lord, you're not stepping up, so I'm going to fix it. We say, you know what? These guys who are following you around, I'm sure they can fix it. That's not the way we do it. We need to be like the ox and the ass. We need to know who our master is. We need to sit at his feet. We need to be obedient. This is our inheritance as Israel. Our inheritance is to be humble, to sit, to listen at his feet. When we do this, we sit back and we see his perfect hand, setting things straight. We see his perfect hand, setting all things right. We see his perfect hand undoing the perversion of our pride, undoing the perversion of our way of doing things, the worldly way of doing things. This is the temptation that faces us now. This is the temptation that has always faced the people that God has chosen. We are a royal priesthood. We are called to be set apart from this world. And when we try to do things the way the world does it, the world has all kinds of great systems. The world has all kinds of great ways of getting stuff done, producing more, doing more, being stronger, faster, better. That That's not who we are. We are the foolish things of this world. We are the ones and the things that Christ is using to show the world who he is. If we're still, and if we come correctly to him, he'll heal us. And even if we don't, in his goodness, he still heals us. Because this is the powerful thing of that gospel. Even though that man came incorrectly, Christ still healed his son.
Yes, he did.
But nevertheless, let us come as children. Let us come humbly. Let us come as people who are looking and trying to hear from the Spirit. That spirit of liberty, as it says in the epistle. Bigger, faster, stronger, better. That's just another name for a master. That's all that is. We need to be meek, gentle, humble of heart, full of love. That's the speed. That's the efficiency. That's the power of Christ. May God help us. In the Father,